When I was 22, something happened that I still can't explain. I had a summer job counting cars for the city. One morning on my break, my mom, who was recovering from major surgery, asked me to stop by our house, grab my grandpa's mail, and bring it to the hospital. I unlocked the front door and stepped inside. That's when I heard a calm, firm voice say, "Lock the door." It wasn't in my head. It sounded real. I locked it. Then the voice said, "Bring the dog inside." Our black German Shepherd ran in, fur standing straight up, growling like I'd never heard before. The doorbell rang. A man claimed he was there to fix our AC, but no one had called him. My dog went insane. I shut the door, and the same calm voice said, "Wait until he leaves." I waited until the man left. 2 weeks later, he was arrested for attacking a girl. I never saw who warned me, but something protected me that day.
I visited the wrong family, and they wouldn't let me leave. This is Bill's true story. About 7 years ago, my mom asked me to attend a dinner at my aunt and uncle's house on her behalf. She had recently visited them to celebrate my cousin's graduation, but she was busy that evening and couldn't go again. She gave me the gifts and asked me to drop them off instead since I hadn't seen them in a very long time. I had recently moved in with my mother after living with my dad in another state. This side of the family was actually my mom's cousin's family since my mom had no siblings. So the visit felt completely normal. I had never met my cousin in person and had only spoken to him briefly on the phone, but my mom said they were expecting me. The address she gave me was unfamiliar. Even my GPS couldn't recognize it, so I had to use a map and manually pin the location. As I drove, I noticed how far I was getting from civilization. Tree after tree, farm after farm, the farther I went, the more isolated it felt. I remember thinking, why do they live this far out? Eventually, I reached an address that looked close enough. The house appeared dull and neglected, almost swallowed by leaves and overgrown branches. For a moment I wondered if I had the wrong place. But as soon as I pulled into the rocky driveway and knocked on the door, my aunt opened it and looked at me. I introduced myself and explained that my mom couldn't make it, but she had sent me with the gifts. My uncle stepped outside as well. They glanced at each other briefly, then let me in. It felt like they hadn't been expecting me, but they still seemed genuinely happy to have company. Inside, I handed them the gifts and asked where my cousin was. They answered casually, saying he had gone out to run a few errands and would be back later. The evening felt surprisingly normal. We talked about my mom, shared family memories, and caught up on lost time. My aunt made homemade pot roast, which I finished quickly. After dinner, we played a long, competitive game of Uno. I actually enjoyed myself. Hours passed. It was getting dark, and my cousin still hadn't returned. I told them I should head out. Since my GPS hadn't worked on the way in, I asked for directions to the highway. They exchanged a puzzled look. "I thought you were staying the night," my aunt said. I explained that I had work the next morning and couldn't afford to miss it. They immediately discouraged me from leaving, warning that I would get lost driving at night. I laughed it off and said I'd be fine. That's when their tone changed. They became firm, almost urgent, insisting it would be better if I stayed. The more they pushed, the more uneasy I felt. Eventually, I sighed and agreed to stay the night, saying I would need to leave early in the morning. Instantly, their mood shifted. They looked relieved, almost happy. As they went to get bedding for me, a strong feeling hit me. I shouldn't stay. I quietly walked out the front door, got into my car, and drove away. It took some time, but I managed to find my way out and made it home about an hour later than expected. It was late, so I climbed over the fence and entered through the back door to avoid waking my parents. The kitchen lights were on. My mom was sitting at the table waiting. "Where were you?" she asked. "At Aunt Deborah," I said. "You knew I was going there." She looked confused. "Then why did she call earlier asking why you never arrived?" To this day, I have no idea who I visited that night, but I'm grateful I made it out alive.
My dad passed away in 2009 on my brother's birthday. He was an electrician by trade, and he died doing the job he loved. This is Lindsay's true, strange story. That New Year's Eve, my brother, some of Dad's friends, and I went out for a drink to bring in the new year, our first, without him. I don't drink, so around 1 a.m., I decided to head home. When I pulled into the driveway, I noticed something strange. My porch light was on. That light hadn't worked for years. We'd never fixed it. And honestly, we'd stopped even thinking about it. Before we continue, please like and subscribe for more true, strange stories. I stood there for a moment, staring at it glowing brightly in the cold night. Then I sadly smiled and whispered, "Happy New Year, Dad. I love you and I miss you." And right then, the light went out. It never turned on again. Several months later, my partner checked the wiring out of curiosity. To our surprise, the porch light was never even connected. Do you think it was my dad's way of letting me know he was still with us? Comment your thoughts. Growing up, my family was poor. My dad worked at a paper mill. Every year, they gave kids with straight A's an award, a stack of notebooks. My mom saved every single one. Whenever I was invited to a birthday party, she'd wrap a few notebooks in newspaper and hand them to me as a gift. When I was little, no one cared. By middle school, everyone did. Kids wanted real gifts. Every time someone opened mine, people giggled. So I stopped going to parties. Then came my best friend's birthday. Before I could even make an excuse, she came up to me and said, "For my birthday, I want 3 notebooks, but you have to handwrite my name and decorate the first page of each one." At the party, people giggled when she grabbed my gift. I held my breath, but when she opened it, she jumped up and down and showed everyone the notebooks and said, "Look, she decorated these by hand. These are beautiful." And suddenly, the giggle stopped. My best friend didn't just want notebooks. She wanted me to feel proud of something I could give. And in that moment, she wasn't just my friend. She was an angel who changed my life.
And my husband and I were camping at Boysen Reservoir in Wyoming. We managed to book a rare beachfront campsite that led straight to the water. It sounded perfect, until we realized it was completely isolated from every other campsite. We were totally alone. Once the sun went down, Wyoming turned pitch black. No lights, no noise, just an eerie, heavy silence. We had just finished setting up camp and were sitting by the fire when an SUV with blacked-out windows drove down our road and straight into our campsite. My husband stood up and waved, thinking they might be lost or needed help. They didn't wave back. They didn't slow down. They just drove past us and down toward the beach. They stopped there for a few minutes. Then we saw 3 men stepped out from the beach area. They didn't say anything. They didn't acknowledge us. They just stood there briefly before getting back into the SUV. That's when the bad feeling really hit. The SUV turned around and left, but neither of us felt relieved. My husband told me to start throwing everything into the car fast. He kept shining a flashlight toward the beach because we couldn't shake the thought that someone might have stayed behind. We packed up as quickly as we could and got into the car. As soon as we pulled out, the same SUV came back into our campsite. And the moment they saw us leaving, they started chasing us. We were flying down dark, winding Wyoming roads, bumpy, unkept, wildlife everywhere, pushing nearly 80 miles an hour. Even through a canyon, they stayed right on our tail for almost 10 minutes. Eventually, we lost them after passing through the canyon. To this day, it's the most terrifying experience of our lives, and we still think about what could have happened if we hadn't listened to our gut that night. Have you ever had a scary camping experience or something unexplained happen while traveling?